Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you are here with us. Got to talk a lot of LSU baseball over the course of the next couple of hours. Mickey Loomis says Cam Jordan's got a contract in front of him. Taysom Hill does not. We'll discuss a little bit of that coming up in 30 minutes. PGA Championship wrapped up yesterday from Aronimink. I've got some thoughts on that. Does LSU have another European basketball commitment? We will talk about that at 2 o'clock. So lots and lots and lots to do. Let's crank it up the way we do every day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
LSU's regular season is over. 56 games in the rearview mirror. The Tigers swept by Florida. Fifth sweep in 6 weeks for this LSU team. They've been swept 5 times in 6 weeks. Jay Johnson's first 4 LSU teams were swept a total of 5 times, and this one got swept 5 times in a month and a half. It was just a dismal, dismal season, and it came to a dismal, dismal close as Florida just bashed LSU pitching all over the box for 3 days. Look, LSU did not put its best foot forward over the weekend. William Schmidt was not on the roster this weekend. They're holding him for likely tomorrow night. Kason Evans was limited in what he did. They were not going to push the envelope with any of their arms. They were going to make sure that they were ready to go for Tuesday night in Hoover, and it showed. Florida absolutely hammered them. But I will say, on Saturday, in the final game of the season, it's not as if LSU just threw the end of the bench at Florida. They did not do that. Zach Cowan started the game. That's about as good as arm as LSU has on the roster this year. They threw Grant Fontenot. They threw Gavin Guidry. They threw Santiago Garcia. They threw Devin Sheeran. They threw Ethan Plog. Like, these are all guys that LSU has counted on. Now, they were on pitch counts, and they didn't need a lot of innings, but, like, it wasn't like they just threw the freshmen out there and said, hey, kids, go get it. And Florida still just crushed everything in sight, scored 15 runs on 18 hits. This is going to be a kind of a – I don't have a good word for it. I realize that's kind of the job here, to come up with words. This is going to be a silly thing for me to say out loud because we all just watched it. But it is how I feel, so I'll just let you in on it. Like, I don't understand how LSU's pitching got to this point this year. I really don't get it. I look at that staff that has talented human beings on it. I mean, you're talking big-time velocity on Kason Evans, William Schmidt, Grant Fontenot, Devin Sheeran, Maverick Rizzi. Like, these guys throw above 95 miles an hour. Zach Cowan had a phenomenal year last year. Santiago Garcia was really good last year for Oregon in high-leverage spots. You have a big talent in Marcos Paz, and freshmen have eased into this program and done some good things on the mound at times. You have a mix of left-handers and right-handers. You've got some guys that have had some success. Kason Evans' ERA last year was 2.05. 2.05. He pitched every SEC weekend. He pitched in Omaha. He pitched against UCLA, who's beating the brakes off everybody, and he was awesome in that outing in Omaha. There are actual pitchers on this baseball team with ability. And as we put a bow on 56 games, listen to some of these statistics or notes. LSU finished dead last in the Southeastern Conference. Last, 16th in ERA, WHIP, walks and hits per innings pitched, runs allowed, walks, and wild pitches. Last. In the last 6 games of league play, LSU allowed 10 or more runs in all of them. Georgia did it all 3 times. Florida did it all 3 times. They gave up 73 total runs in those 6 games. Georgia came to the plate 22 times in Athens. Florida came to the plate 25 times. That's 47 at-bats. They scored 73 runs. That's a run and a half per inning. A run and a half Every single inning you're allowing. They gave up 10 or more runs in 13 of 30 SEC games. That is almost half. You gave up 10. I mean, 7 is not a great day on the mound. 10? They almost did that half the time. Their SEC ERA, so in SEC games only, 30 games, it was over 7. Like every single year, we sit there in January and we talk about the depth on the roster, go through the positions, go through the staff, and you understand when you step on the field for that first game and you extrapolate this thing out over 56, some guys are going to have big years, some guys are going to have a little bit down years, you're going to have an injury here or there, but you know that not everyone is going to perform right next to expectation. Some guys are going to perform up, some guys are going to perform down. I would make the argument pretty powerfully that every single pitcher on LSU staff underperformed. All of them. Every one. Who would you point to and go, okay, he did a really nice job? I can't think of one. Grant Fontenot is the only pitcher, other than Cooper Moore, who threw 8 SEC innings, who kept his ERA under 4 for the year. Grant Fontenot was the only one. His was at 3.90. That's the only one under 4, 3.90. I think it's potentially true that every single pitcher on the staff underperformed. And I hear you all yelling through your dashboard, yelling through your headset, look, that's all on Nate Yeskie. And I would not suggest that Nate Yeskie did a very good job with his team, obviously. I think his track record suggests he's a pretty damn good pitching coach. But this was truly, to me, an unfathomably bad season on the mound. I could not have possibly suggested that LSU would perform this poorly on the mound. And it wasn't like, oh, there's a tough weekend. It was week after week after week after week. They just got lit up like a Christmas tree. Could not find a weekend starter to give them consistent innings. Could not find a consistent left-hander to throw strikes. Could not find a consistent closer. No piece to the puzzle at any point ever fit. That is remarkable when you consider what they look like getting off the bus and what those radar guns say. It's remarkable. I said this last week. I'll say it again. I have watched awful baseball teams throughout my time following the Southeastern Conference. There have been some terrible Kentucky teams, terrible Tennessee teams. I've seen Auburn in the dumps. I've seen Alabama not care and be bad. I've seen Missouri come into that ballpark once every 2 years. They're always terrible. And none of them have pitching staffs that have this sort of pedigree and talent. And yet LSU was the worst, and it was just about every night they went out there. Like William Schmidt pitched a couple good games. Evans was brilliant once against Oklahoma. They got South Carolina out for 3 days because South Carolina is atrocious offensively. But game in, game out in league play, it was a 7, 8, 9, 10 spot every single day. And that is just hard for me to wrap my head around. I did a segment 2 weeks ago where I kind of looked at myself analyzing this team preseason and said, you were so wrong on this. Like, what did you miss? And I wasn't alone. Everybody thought LSU was going to be really good. When they got off the field in Jacksonville, they were ranked second in the nation. D1 Baseball loved them. Baseball America loved them. Everybody loved LSU. So I wasn't alone, but I just want to do some introspection and go, how did you miss on this? And the answer is I don't really know. I was nervous about Kason Evans being the Friday night starter based on his starts last year. I was nervous about William Schmidt and just how poorly he pitched in league games last year when he walked like 11 in 2 innings. I was a little bit concerned about that. I thought Cooper Moore had a pretty high floor, and then you lost him. But I would have suggested that their bullpen would really do a good job of getting guys out. And the amount of regression that Maverick Rizzi showed was staggering. Just couldn't throw it over the plate. Wild pitches, walks constantly. You didn't get exactly what you thought you were going to get from Devin Shear, and he had one outing that was brilliant against Texas A&M. There were times where he threw the ball pretty well. Cowan at least threw strikes, but he got hit a lot. Gavin Guidry had a terrible season, gave up the long ball way, way too often. Just wasn't necessarily a guy that you could count on for 3 quick outs. It was I just don't know how I could have seen a 7 ERA, the worst pitching staff statistically in the SEC. And then you add on to it. And I asked Jay Johnson about this on Saturday. I said, how do you compartmentalize leading the SEC in strikeouts and finishing last in ERA? Clearly, one of those is far more important than the other. ERA matters, strikeouts does not. But you wouldn't see a team that would have the worst SEC ERA, allow the most runs, the most whip, and lead the league in strikeouts. That's such an odd juxtaposition. And so I asked Jay Johnson about it on Saturday, and basically he punted the answer because they want to figure it out internally. That wasn't something he was willing to go on the record with. And I respect that. Like, they obviously have a lot of work to do. And he talked about that. They're in Hoover right now, and they're in meetings because the kids are done with school, and you've got a scout to do on Oklahoma, but you've already played them, and that game's at probably 9 o'clock tomorrow night. And, like, they're getting some work done on next year's roster and next year's plan. And it's just got to include a massive overhaul of the pitching staff, because there is not one piece to the puzzle that you can point to from this team and have supreme confidence that that's going to translate to next season. Not one. I think William Schmidt can pitch in the SEC. I think Kason Evans can be an SEC starter. I don't know either one of those two things. I think Marcos Paz could be really good. I loved what I saw from Reagan Ricken back on Thursday night. There are pieces to the puzzle that look good, but based on results, based on what you saw on the field, which ended on Saturday, there's not one piece to that puzzle that you can confidently put in there. That's a tough place to start from, but it is what it is. You are the worst pitching staff in the Southeastern Conference this year. That is a mouthful, and it's something that has to get fixed. And to suggest that it's just going to get fixed with the same guys you've got and just developing further is a foolish way to think about it. You have to go get new guys. Not all of them. I'm not saying kick every player off the team that's threw a pitch this year. But there are going to be some guys that need to move on, and you've got to overhaul the pitching staff. Because what we watched for the last 10 weeks was atrocious. Awful. Start to finish. And it certainly finished that way. So LSU will play for its season until it loses in Hoover, and they're in that late spot. So they're scheduled to start at 8 o'clock tomorrow. If they win, they would be scheduled to start at 8 o'clock again on Wednesday. And we know that those games rarely start on time. When you got 3 before it, something's got to back up, and there's rain delay or something, and all of a sudden your first pitch is at 9:04 p.m. That's the spot LSU's got. They'll start that with Oklahoma coming up tomorrow. Now, that was a very, very negative segment. I would suggest that, and it deserved it because they went 9-21 in the league. That's the worst ever. There is some positive, and I do want to spend some time on that, so we'll do it when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's May. That means it is Stroke Awareness Month nationally, and Auctioner wants you to be fast. B-E-F-A-S-T. Be fast. That's balance. There's someone that's unable to maintain proper balance. Eyes, if the person's vision's affected or eyes are deviated to one side. That's B-E, balance eyes, and then fast. Face, arms, speech, time. Face is one side of the face drooping or is it numb? Is one arm weak or numb? Is speech slurred? That's interesting. If a person shows any signs of those symptoms, even if they go away, make sure to get them to a medical professional immediately. It is May. That is National Stroke Awareness Month. My friends at Auctioner want you to be fast.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Always remind you about my friends at the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carvo and his team over there are fantastic at what they do. I was actually with Jonathan yesterday chasing a little white golf ball around the field. Enjoyed that, and also enjoyed his conversation about the Highland Insurance Group. Look, he knows and they know in the marketplace right now with commercial insurance that rates are just really tough. They're tough on business owners with the amount of premium that you're being asked to pay. If that's the case and you feel like you're getting squeezed a little bit and you just like a second set of eyes and perhaps the ability to shop for different coverages with different carriers, the Howard Insurance Group is happy to give it a look. Again, they know rates are tough right now, but they do have great relationships and a lot of different carriers that they're contracted with. So if you're a business owner that's had a bad renewal or fearful of the renewal that may be coming up later this summer, contact the Howard Insurance Group and see if they can take a look for you. They are happy to do it. They're here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide. They're online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. All right, let's stick with LSU baseball here for a little bit. I realize this is one of my favorite weeks of the year every year. I love crunching RPI numbers and looking at different post projections, top 8 projections. I think that's one of the most fun things that I do professionally every single year, and to just have that completely out the window this year is such a bummer. To have nothing on the line in Hoover is such a bummer. But it is what it is. It's what the die say when you're 9-21. There's just not anything to look forward to. You just got to play until your season's over. But I did want to throw a couple of bouquets to a couple of players that I believe have just had a phenomenal go of it. Stephen Milam, let me put this together for you. Stephen Milam this season played in all 56 games, hit an even 300 for the season, had 10 home runs and 3 errors. That is a stellar season by LSU's junior shortstop. He just was a rock of consistency on defense, and then did what he's done for 3 years now offensively, which is heat up when the weather heats up. Over his last 10 games, only one of those is a non-conference against Tulane. So you're talking about 9 league games. He's 14 out of 36. That's a .389 batting average. He homered in all 3 games over the weekend. We know back in 2024 when he was a freshman, he was probably their best hitter down the stretch. Obviously, Jared Jones was on that team. Tommy White was on that team. There were some very good players on that team. But at the end of that season, Milam was probably their best hitter. Hit the home run against Wofford to walk off the regional opener on Friday. And then last year in June, he just went nuclear. Torched through the regional, was even better in the super regional, was great in Omaha as well, driving in a ton of runs. And so he comes back, and yeah, he started off slow. No question about that. But he finishes the season with a .300 batting average for the regular season. Hopefully he can go 1 for 3 if they play just one game tomorrow, and he can finish the season over .300. But he hit .300, he hit 10 homers, and he only made 3 errors. That is a great, great season by Stephen Milam. During the game on Saturday, they were chanting one more year to Milam. Jay Johnson kind of dismissed that in the post-game press conference. Said, look, I think a team's going to give him $2 million. I'm a huge Stephen Milam fan. I would push back on $2 million for Stephen Milam. I think that's probably ambitious for what he could draw, but we talked about it last week. I don't know what they can do financially for him on the college side. I do know on the professional side, he's probably looking at a draft slot that's somewhere in the $400,000 or $500,000 range, just depending on where he goes. My suggestion would be that he probably won't be back next year, but I wouldn't completely slam the door on it either. Today, not really about that. Today's just about throwing him a bouquet of flowers for a fantastic junior season. I thought he was great. And, of course, Cade Arambidi was sensational. Just a huge, huge sophomore season for him. I wrote about this over at LouisianaSports.net. You look at Arambidi, and if I were to give you his final stat line back in January, I would have gone, oh, that's a monster year for Cade. That's the breakout you were hoping for. When you talk about floors and ceilings, Cade Arambidi hit his ceiling as a sophomore. And that's the most natural progression that we see in college baseball. There are cases like Derek Curiel, Dylan Cruz, Alex Lang, Alex Bregman, Antoine Duplantis, guys that show up as freshmen, they're ready to go. They're ready from day one to hit the ground running and play great. That happens some, not a lot. And then you have some guys that really bloom late. That happened for like Mason Katz. He was kind of a little used player for a couple of years, and he blossomed into an all-SEC player by year 3 and certainly year 4. He was a late developer. That's something that you don't see all the time. Ty Floyd really came on late in his career. He's a good pitcher as a freshman and sophomore, but he really emerged in year 3. But most often, you get your feet wet as a freshman, and your sophomore year, you blossom into the player that you're ultimately going to be. That's the most usual progression. And that's what you saw from Cade Arambidi. Statistically, what a monster year for him as a catcher. .326 batting average. He had an on-base of .425, a slugging of .669. That's an OPS over 1,000. It's a 1094 OPS, and he hit 18 home runs and 8 doubles. That is a huge year. And I think the thing that I like the most about Cade Arambidi's season is that he feasted on SEC pitching. It wasn't like he put up a bunch of empty numbers early in the campaign and then kind of limped his way through league play. No, he did his most damage against Southeastern Conference pitching. I wrote this in a column that I wrote today, but in SEC play, he hit 12 home runs and hit .394. 394. He drove in 34 runs in 27 SEC games. He missed 3 games. He was under the weather and a little bit banged up. He missed 3 games early in SEC play, but in 27 games to hit 394 with 12 homers and 34 driven in, that's doing it against the best of the best, and that's somebody that absolutely will garner preseason All-American honors next season, will be thought of as one of the top catchers in college baseball next year, and will be a linchpin in what LSU's trying to do moving forward in 2027. They've got some really good offensive pieces, and Brown and Cerna fall into that category, and we'll see what happens with Milam, and you feel like you got feet wet of Ruckert, and you got the feet wet of William Patrick, and you'll go into the transfer portal, and you got some really talented high school players in this class as well. But when you look at this team and you're trying to build an offensive lineup, Cade Arambidi in 2 or 3 hole is absolutely a necessity, and you can feel really, really good about that moving forward. It's the exact opposite of what I told you in the last segment, where there's not a single pitcher on this team that I can point to, say he's back next year and he's doing this. There's not one. Offensively, Arambidi fits that bill. You saw the emergence start, because he didn't hit a lot in summer ball last year when he went off. It was a brief go in summer ball. When you play all the way through June and win the national championship, there's not a lot of time for summer ball, and you've already kind of been involved in baseball a lot. They took it easy on a lot of guys in the summer, but he came back in the fall and led LSU in hitting in the fall. He was LSU's top batting average guy in fall scrimmages, and you were hoping that would translate. And Jay Johnson said at some point he could be the best player in the program. Right now, with Jake Brown out, the hamate injury, Cade Arambidi is the best player on LSU's team, and he had a huge, huge season. Again, all the pitchers finished around their floor. Offensively, Arambidi was the closest to his ceiling this year. He was sensational. Speaking of Jake Brown, who I mentioned earlier there, just a cool moment at the box. If you weren't locked in on Saturday, which I fully understand, then you missed a cool moment for Jake Brown. He's obviously he had surgery on his hand. He broke that hamate bone, had surgery on it, so he cannot go out there and play. And I noticed in the middle innings that he was fully dressed in uniform. And previously he had been in a warm-up jacket. I saw him in Starkville. He was in a warm-up jacket. He did not have his jersey on, and I noticed that he had his jersey on. And I thought, oh, Jake's just putting that jersey on. It's his last home game. Just wanted to put the jersey on for one last time. But they did more than that. They announced him as a pinch hitter, allowed him to take his helmet off, to hat tip the crowd, to fist pump, and then to walk off the field for the last time there. And then they immediately pinch hit Eddie Yaman, who I guess ironically was hit by a pitch in his hand, pinch hitting for Jake Brown, who couldn't go up there because of a hand. Jay Johnson said they thought about pinch running Jake Brown, but thought it was a better idea not to put him in the line of fire. So it was a cool moment at the box to see him with his last at bat in Alex Box Stadium, to be able to acknowledge the crowd, for the crowd to acknowledge him. It's not exactly the perfect swan song, and we've seen some really cool ones. One that I'll always remember was against Oklahoma. Mason Katz and Rafe Rhymes came off the field together in the 9th inning as they were punching a ticket to Omaha. LSU had a huge lead in Game 2 against Oklahoma, and they allowed those guys to come off the field. Dylan Cruz had an unbelievable final at bat where he tripled down the line or doubled down the line. I have a video of it on my phone, but in the Super Regional against Kentucky, his last at bat, he ripped one down the left field line. I think it was a 3-run double, if memory serves, and that was just a huge moment and a cool thing for him in his last time at the box. This is not exactly the way Jake Brown wanted to go out, with a broken hand and his team at 9-20 on the season, but it was a cool moment. So I just wanted to acknowledge that here as we kind of put a bow on this regular baseball season. We'll preview LSU and Oklahoma tomorrow. Tigers are going to try to navigate this thing the best way that they can and make things interesting into the weekend and see if they can't get in the NCAA tournament. They're now in a position that a lot of teams around the country are in this time of year, where you got to go win your conference tournament. I don't think they're going to do it because I don't think they're very good, but they're certainly going to try, and they'll start tomorrow against Oklahoma at 8 o'clock. But I did want to mention Milam and Arambidi and Brown, just cool moments for those guys at the box, and great seasons for Cade Arambidi and for Stephen Milam. Jake Brown would have been a potential first-team All-SEC guy if he had stayed healthy. He'd have hit more than 20 home runs, which would have been really cool to see, but obviously the hamate injury stopped him from getting that done. All right, that's it for baseball. 30 minutes in on baseball. Might get to a little bit of it in hour number 2. We'll see if we have a little bit of time. Coming up in 30 minutes, LSU may have gotten another international player for its basketball team. I did a little research on that, so we'll talk about it at 2 o'clock. Pels have hired a new coach. Might get Jordan's thoughts about that in the second hour. But Cam Jordan, is he coming back to the Saints? And what about Alvin Kamara? We'll talk about both of those when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power, GoTrosOnline.com, GoTrosOnline.com. If you're driving on Airline Highway and you see just a mountain of orange inventory, that's GoTro's Outdoor Power. That's their hustler inventory. It's significant. The largest in the state by far, largest parts inventory in the state as well. If you need a new zero-turn mower, it needs to be your first and only stop. GoTros can get you behind the wheel of a new zero-turn mower for about $100 a month. You want financing? They've got it for you for sure. That grass is going to keep growing all the way through October. And now that it's time for warm temperatures, you're getting a lot of rain. So if you need to maintain your property, you need a new mower, contact the guys at GoTro's Outdoor Power. You can start at GoTrosOnline.com, but go see them. Family-owned and operated. Baton Rouge and Gonzales are the two locations. Check them out online. GoTrosOnline.com, GoTrosOnline.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Spring is turning to summer. We understand that, and that may mean that baseball season is wrapping up for your youth baseball player, softball season wrapping up for your youth softball player if they're not playing the year-round circuit. That doesn't mean you stop working, right? If you've got a youngster that wants to keep swinging the bat, wants to keep working on pitching, well, you can do that at Marucci year-round if you get a membership, because they've got key card access to their facility that you can use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what time of year it is. It's one of the cool things about becoming a member over at Marucci. You can also go take a tour of Marucci, learn where the official bat of Major League Baseball is made. Such a cool thing that we have here in Baton Rouge to have an operation start in a backyard shed and over the course of 2 decades becomes the official bat of Major League Baseball. They make 1,200 bats every single day. You can learn where they make them, learn the story behind Marucci when you go take a tour. Check it out online. You can buy your tickets at MarucciSports.com. MarucciSports.com/campus-tour. Every single ticket to the campus tour comes with a 20% discount in the campus tour store and in the hitter's house. So become a member, take a tour over at Marucci. All right, the Saints golf tournament is today. Charity golf tournament is today. Opportunity for Mickey Loomis to take some questions from local reporters. We're going to play a video here for you, courtesy of our friends at WDSU. Sari Fishak and the team do an awesome job down there in the Big Easy. And this is just a general deal from Mickey Loomis talking about contract negotiations with Cam Jordan and with Taysom Hill and where those things stand right now.
Look, those guys, have earned the right for self-determination, right? So we're not going to put any deadlines on anything.
Do they both have contract offers from you?
Cam certainly does. Taysom does not.
So that's a look at where those two are at this point. We knew that Taysom Hill was not going to be back with New Orleans. That's not news to anyone. The question is whether or not he wants to continue to play football. I don't know what the answer to that is. I would imagine that there's a possibility Sean Payton could take another swing at a former Saint that he worked with in New Orleans over in Denver. But Taysom's getting up there in age, and the amount of injuries that body has gone through is significant. And his style, it just doesn't allow him to play less physically or to protect himself in any way. He's a battering ram, and he's an older one that's kind of been put together with duct tape. So it's been an amazing run for Taysom Hill, but clearly his time in New Orleans is over, and we knew that. Cam, it's interesting to hear Mickey Loomis say that, yeah, they have put a contract offer in front of him. And I think it's very easy at this point now to read these tea leaves and figure out the situation with Cam Jordan. He is valuing himself like a 10.5 sack guy, because that's what he did last year. I don't believe you're going to get a lot of organizations interested in paying 10.5 sack money to Cam Jordan at this point in his career. In golf, they talk about sustainability models all the time. Like, can you continue to do that? And the sustainability models with Cam would figure to suggest a significant regression. That he was regressing over time, and then this is kind of an outlier with the production that he had. So do you think that it's going to happen again? I would suggest that the answer is probably no. And so to pay him like a guy that's going to be a game wrecker in the NFL is probably not a super wise decision. I mean, you look at his sack numbers, and he was a guy that you could count on for like 10, 12 sacks. I'll go 2013 through 2021. Here are Cam's sack numbers: 12.5, 7.5, 10, 7.5, 13, 12, 15, 7.5, 12.5. Like, you were always right there around that 10 mark. Sometimes 12.5, sometimes 7.5, but right there around 10. And then you started to see that decline come. And you see that he had 8.5 in 22, 2 in 23, and 4 in 24. And it's not like he was missing time due to injury. He played in every game but one over the course of those 3 years. He just didn't have the production. In 2023 and 2024 combined, he had 6 sacks, and he played in 34 games. So the 10.5 is just this huge jump that I don't think you can forecast is going to sustain. And I think that's what the market is telling him. So he's not getting what he wants, and that's why he remains unsigned. It is clear now that you heard from Mickey Loomis, the Saints are interested in bringing him back. This is not a charity deal. They're not, well, we'll throw an offer Cam's way. Like, they didn't do that with Taysom. He's telling you they did not do that with Taysom. They have with Cam Jordan. They see a value in him. It's just not what Cam Jordan thinks it should be. And that's why you're seeing this drag on. And Cam doesn't have to be in a hurry. If Cam comes back to New Orleans, he doesn't need OTAs. He doesn't need, a full training camp. Like, Cam Jordan knows the defense, knows the city, knows the culture, and I don't think he'll wait a long time. But I think the likelihood at this point is that he comes back to the Saints on a very team-friendly deal. We know that the Saints have looked elsewhere for defensive end options, and they have cashed in on that. They've made free agent moves. They made a trade on draft weekend. They've got some depth there. Cam's not a must-have. But if you can get him at the right price, absolutely, you bring him in. He's wonderful as a teammate, and he's still got some gas in the tank. I just am going to bet, if you're telling me the over-under on Cam Jordan sacks this year is 10, I'll kindly take the under. And that's probably what they ought to pay him. And so nobody has jumped to the forefront to make a splash and lure him away like happened to DeMario. And the Saints are kind of holding back, going, okay, here's the offer. Like, if you decide you want to play football, here it is. And we have every reason to believe that Cam wants to play football. We have every reason to believe that he hasn't been wowed by an offer from anyone. We now know there's an offer from New Orleans. And so you put the dots together, and Cam Jordan is to me, likely to be a Saint this coming season. It's just not going to be at the number that he probably thought when he entered the free agent part of this calendar with the 10.5 sacks attached to his name. I think that's fine. I've told y'all, when it comes to these lifetime achievement deals, I'm trying to win games, which is why I didn't love the Kamara contract, but the Saints gave it to him. I'm okay with moving on from Taysom Hill. I'm okay with moving on from Mario Davis. And I would be okay with moving on from Cam Jordan. But I also think there's value in bringing Cam Jordan back, as there would have been with Davis. But you got to do it at the right price, and it appears the Saints are in that ballpark. And I think as the days tick away, not right now, but as the days tick away moving forward, as Mickey Loomis said, there's no real timing on this. I think that he will eventually become a Saint. I think he's going to be a part-time player for this team, and I think you get him on a one-year deal. And this will probably be the swan song for Cam Jordan, I would have to imagine. And hopefully he's part of a winner this year, because it's been a minute since the Saints were a winning team, and he was certainly part of some really, really good winning in his early years when he was racking up Pro Bowls and was the first team All-Pro back in 2017. So that's where we are with the New Orleans Saints. Our golf tournament is today. Ross Jackson's got some stories up at LouisianaSports.net. One that I found interesting, and Jeff Duncan is the one that tweeted this. And I don't know where Jeff got this, so I'm just going off of what he tweeted. I have certainly no firsthand knowledge of this. Sounds like the Falcons may have made a phone call to the NFL and said, hey, we hear the Saints want to do this whole dome coming thing. We're out. We don't want to do that. And the NFL said, you're doing it. So it appears that, I can't confirm it, but Jeff's reporting it. Said, hey, the Falcons said they didn't want any part of the dome coming. Well, they're getting it. That's the primetime game, week 4. It'll be an incredible environment inside the Dome, and the Falcons didn't want any piece of that. How do you feel about that, Jordan? Falcons trying to duck the Dome coming?
I think it's
par for the course.
I ain't gonna say too much about them because they did sweep. No, I'm not. I'm gonna take it easy this time because they did sweep us last year, but it did work out in our favor. We got the 4-play schedule.
That's right.
Because I wanted to smash their faces in. So I'm not gonna say too much. Y'all got the 2 up on us right now, but it is non-commendable to try and not move off that. I mean, what is the NFL? You got to play everybody. It's not like college football where you can go play, I don't know, the Citadel or something like that. Like, come on, man. You got to see us regardless. Don't do that.
You do, and they'll see him in the Dome. And that the Dome, just a projection, just a wild projection. I think the Dome will be full that night.
Oh, it'll be rocking.
I think the Dome will be full that night. There will be some $18 cold pops going down.
Oh, $18. My goodness. I can smell it right now. I can smell the alcohol in the air, actually.
It's so expensive. I saw some prices from the PGA Championship on stuff. Like, charging $21 for one drink. It's just absurd. Ridiculous. How did we get to this as a society?
Please
Who's
tell
in
me.
charge of this?
Somebody. Explain this to me.
Not good. All right, that's it for the New Orleans Saints here on this Monday, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. We will step aside. Speaking of the PGA Championship, I've got some thoughts on that. We'll talk some hoops. LSU may have a new basketball commitment as well. We'll do that coming up in about 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. You can start your buying process right there at FabryChevrolet.com. They've got all of their inventory on the website. You can see their new vehicles. It's an incredible line. You can also see their pre-owned vehicles as well if that's something that you're more comfortable with. If your lease is about to be up or you just feel like it's time to get a new ride, they've got you covered at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. The difference there is you're talking about incredible customer service. They take that extremely seriously at Fabry Chevrolet GMC, and it's what's made them successful for 35 years. They've got a great reputation in this town because of what they do with their customers. So go by and see them at Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Need a new truck? They got Chevy Silverados. They got GMC Sierras. And maybe you need a new SUV because it's time to get that family in the car and head out on a summer vacation. They're happy to help you with that as well. Incredible deals, incredible people, a great new spot there on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on this Monday. It means we're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. They're rocking and rolling over at Guarantee Health Solutions. If you're in the healthcare space and you feel like you may need some help digitally, making your practice a little bit more digitally, whether you're a dental practice or maybe an urgent care, medical office, hospital, Guarantee Health Solutions can help you become more digital. It can help your patient experience, which can start on the website. How many clicks to care? How difficult is it to navigate on your site? Is it customer friendly? What about the patient journey through your office? Has your front desk been trained to make sure that that's personal and efficient and effective? Rachel Fricke found in her experience with her mother going through the healthcare system as her mother battled cancer that it just felt impersonal. It did not feel like a positive experience. So she used her background in the hotel space to get into the healthcare space and bring hospitality into it. And that's what they do at Guarantee Health Solutions. They're guiding healthcare forward. They can help train your staff. They've got resources in that department. They can help build your website, help with your marketing, with SEO. They can help in advertising. They've had incredible successes in a short time. That includes one of their partners going from a 65 to a 90 with the Net Promoter Score in just 3 months. They make big difference over there at Guarantee Health Solutions. Find them online at guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. All right, the PGA Championship was over the weekend at Aronimink. There's a lot of discussion about it. And the winner was Aaron Rai. He wins his first major championship. And Aaron Rai is a different dude. He's a different cat. This is a guy that is easy to find on the golf course. I noticed him at the Zurich. I went when Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry were here a couple years ago, and they were playing with Aaron Rai and his partner, and I was like, I don't know a lot about this guy, but one, he wears 2 golf gloves, which you don't see any tour players do that, and 2, he has covers on his irons. For those that don't play a lot of golf, like you're aware of head covers on woods and drivers, but usually irons are uncovered. and Aaron Rai puts covers on them. And it's kind of a stigma in the golf world that you don't really know what you're doing if you're covering up all your irons. Well, this is one of the better players in golf, and he does. And the story behind it is one that'll kind of tug at your heartstrings. Aaron Rai came from humble beginnings in England, and it was a huge investment for his father to buy him a really nice set of golf clubs as he was progressing in junior golf. That was a big chunk for his family to take off. And so what would you do with something that is a huge investment for you? Well, you try to take care of it. So Aaron Rai put covers on the irons, and he just kept doing it as a reminder of where he came from. And I think there's something very admirable about that. Is it practical? Probably not. I'm sure the caddy's not thrilled with it because he has to take the cover off and put it back on every time Aaron Rai gets a club, but he does that, and it's interesting. The thing that I did not like about Aaron Rai when I watched him at Zurich, and this is something that people have talked about, and this is not exclusive to Aaron Rai, but it was very noticeable at the Zurich when I watched him. He is painfully slow playing golf. And because I watched him do that and he was so slow, I found myself pulling against him on television. I was like, this guy's so slow, whatever. But you hear him talk post-round, and he seems like a delightful guy, a very thoughtful guy, and an interesting guy that has these kind of idiosyncrasies where he's using iron covers and he's wearing 2 gloves and he's very deliberate with everything he does. I'll tell you this. I did have a little bit of a beef with one of his answers last night. They asked him how he would celebrate winning his first major championship. And Aaron Rai's answer was, I'll probably go to Chipotle. What? You probably go to Chipotle? Can we do something more fun than that?
After winning a golf
He just
tournament?
won his first ever major championship. He beat Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm and Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele. All these guys were in the mix on Sunday. It was a logjam of epic proportions. You didn't know who was going to win. He comes out and smokes them with a 65, and then he tells me he might go get a burrito bowl.
Oh, no.
Some carne asada. No way. Give me something.
Yeah, I need a steak. I'm
not saying everybody's got to go shotgun Natty Lights or like go crazy, but like do something. I need a better celebration than Chipotle.
Yeah.
That to me, that's a check in the wrong box. I'm sorry. That's a negative for me.
No, 100%. I agree with you. As a food type of guy, you have to have something exclusive after winning something of that proportion. You can't go get you can get that any day. You can go get Chipotle.
I mean, I liked Peyton Manning's answer when he was in Denver and they won the AFC.
Okay.
He said, "I'm just thinking about getting a Bud Light in my mouth as fast as possible." It's like, okay, I kind of like that.
And I promise you, there was one in his locker waiting for him after the game.
No, well, so apparently it was like a bit of a hot topic because Denver's Coors country.
Oh yeah,
and
Coors
so
Light,
they had to that was a kind of a
Can't
back
say
and
that,
forth there.
Peyton.
But I need Aaron Rai to give me a little more juice than I'm going to go over there and get some guac. I'll go extra guac with the 1.7 I just cashed.
See, and I hate to say that because it's such a Derek Carr answer. That's why I tried to stay. Once you said Chipotle, I was like, I think I heard somebody say exactly that.
Just give me a little bit more juice than that. It was a great golf tournament. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the amount of people that could win. A bunch of the Live boys were up there. Rahm played really well. Cam Smith showed up out of nowhere. Saw Joaquin Neiman playing well as well. So a lot of Live boys were in contention, but Rai smoked them. And a lot of folks loved the golf course. A lot of folks didn't like the golf course. I thought it played really good. They got great weather conditions. It was firm and fast, and the leaderboard was really good. I like the storylines. I like emotion and passion, and Aaron Rai just doesn't give you any of that. The Chipotle answer is one thing, but you never saw a huge emotional. He makes a 90-foot putt. I think it was on 17. Like, I'd be going bananas on that. Like, he swells his lead up to 4 shots. He's probably going to win the tournament. It goes in from a mile out, and he just kind of starts walking after it. Maybe that's why he plays well, because he keeps his emotions under check. But I like Tiger fist pumping, going crazy. Like, Scheffler doesn't do any of that either, but, like, I like some emotion. I like some drama, some history. And kind of what you got was a very, very nice man who has iron covers and 2 gloves, winning a golf tournament that felt kind of over for the last hour and a half they were out there. So it just it left me wanting a little bit more than it did because of the winner. But I am thrilled that the Live boys did not get the win. Can't have the Live boys up there getting W's yet until the sport folds.
Until it's over.
Until it folds. then at that point, I'll have to relent and the guys will be back on tour. But right now, we're pulling for the tour guys. One for Aaron Rye, who comes from very, very little and worked his way all the way up through. And I have one more thing. I have 2 minutes, so I can do this. He said his wife beats him a lot in golf. She is a professional golfer. I don't think I believe that. This is a top 50 player in the world.
Yeah.
She might beat him some, but I don't think she beats him a lot.
If she beats him a lot, she must be extremely good.
I never heard of her. It's not like so. I don't know. That's I think that was throwing a bouquet at the wife in the press room.
Man. You look,
He's
happy
just trying to prop her up a little bit.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life.
That's what they say. All right, that's it for golf talk here on this Monday. We're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. Fast moving first hour. Talked to baseball for the first 30 minutes. I started the show today lamenting LSU's pitching, and I truly don't know how we got to this point. And I expressed that in the first segment. So if you missed it, you can go catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show. It is right there at the top of the show. Worst pitching staff in the SEC. It's really, really hard to fathom. They gave up 10-plus runs in the last 6 league games that they played. Awful stuff. So I started with that. But then I transitioned to some positivity. So if you're thinking you'd rather get your work week started off with a little bit more positivity, I talked about Kate Arambidi, Stephen Milam, and Jake Brown in the second segment of the show today. I just thought those 3 guys had fantastic seasons and deserved their flowers as well. So that's the LSU baseball talk. We talked Cam Jordan and Taysom Hill there at 1:30. You heard from Mickey Loomis saying that they have a contract in front of Cam Jordan. They do not in front of Taysom Hill. So there's obviously some transition going on there. You can find all my Saints content at Hunt on Saints. Ross Jackson was out at their golf tournament today, and he's got some stuff up at LouisianaSports.net that you can find. Hour 2, we're going to start with some basketball. LSU's got potentially another commitment, and it's in line with the rest of them. We'll pause for national headlines at Sports Center. Back with Hour 2.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You need a Generac home standby generator? Well, you can get one from Boudreaux's Electrical Services. And you're going to want to, because you're going to want to work with the local team. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. Their son, Justin, does an awesome job as well. They'll get you set up. They come on out to the house, survey the situation. You decide to move forward with that Generac home standby generator. They'll do the installation. They will monitor that generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure there are no mechanical breakdowns so that when your power goes off, that Generac home standby generator powers right on. Storm season is right around the corner. The time to get that Generac home standby generator is not when the storm is in the Gulf. Too late. Time is now to make that happen. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that you're not going to have to deal with power outages. You can give them a call at 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services online at boudreauxelectrical.com.